Evening, we'll call the public speak out to order. I believe School Committeeman Attorney Peter Murphy will be zooming in, and good health to you, Peter, and to the viewing audience and the audience that is in the room here. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah that is coming up, and hopefully a good and successful New Year. Speakers will have about 3 minutes, and the first speaker is Maddie Jenkins. And Maddie, congratulations on your room also. Maddie, you'll be the first speaker, please.
Okay, come on up here. Okay, good evening, Mayor Sarno, school committee members, and Superintendent Warwick. Thank you all for allowing us to speak tonight. My name is Dezella Woods, and I've been a teacher at DeBerry School for 5 years.
Thank you, Ms. Woods.
Dezella Woods.
Thank you, yes,
And
Ms.
I've been a
Woods.
teacher at DeBerry School for 5 years and a Springfield schools employee for 32 years. On behalf of DeBerry School, I would like to read our petition that was signed by over 50-plus staff at DeBerry, some of whom are joining us this evening, and then Ms. Jenkins would like to speak.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Woods.
We, the undersigned, representing the community at large, including but not limited to the parent-teacher organization of the William N. DeBerry Elementary School and employees of William N. DeBerry Elementary School, petition to continue utilizing the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission parking lot for the remainder of the 2023-24 school year. Although we understand that the construction for the new parking lot is underway, we, the undersigned, feel that the current parking lot is best used by our staff in the vicinity in which the school is situated. With winter weather quickly approaching, DeBerry staff should have safe and quick access to our school building. Perilous winter weather conditions would make entry and exit to our building unsafe for all our staff of all physical abilities. Moreover, there is a history of gang-related activities that occur during school hours. Asking our staff to travel to the farthest parking lot from our side of the building during a time of year when daylight is minimal jeopardizes their safety and well-being. Being that we have been identified as a priority school by the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we believe that we must exhaust all resources to ensure the well-being of our highly qualified and greatly dedicated staff. Our students' success is highly dependent on the educators in front of them, and when these professionals feel safe, secure, and supported, then they can perform at their optimum levels. We, the undersigned, believe that this continued location will benefit the physical and emotional wellness of our staff. While we understand that the warmer months bring more accommodating environmental conditions, there still stands the issue of the physical environment safety. No staff member should have to worry about their well-being in their work environment when they are asked each and every day to dedicate so much of themselves to the betterment of the students and the community. Thus, we would like this parking situation to be extended through June 30th, 2024, so that we can come together as a community in which all stakeholders can collaborate and determine a more desirable location that benefits all Swan and DeBerry staff. We believe that it would be a travesty to place our staff in unsolicited danger when prevention is so readily available. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. Maddie, would you like to say a few words before we move on to the next speaker?
Yeah, Ms. Maddie Jenkins is my name, and I was at DeBerry 32 years. To the superintendent, Mayor Sano, I'm speaking on behalf of the community and a Mason Square resident. Furthermore, I'm going along with Ms. Wood with our staff here from DeBerry Elementary School to support us today. We are asking you, please, I stand here, ask you that we maintain that parking until the year 2024. And for the safety of our staff, we want to give the best to our staff. We want them to be in front of our students to teach them. So they stay after school, they come early in the morning time. It's a safety thing, and it's a half the thing for your senior citizen coming to read aloud. We not forget about them. The Vision New program, the senior citizen. So let's not forget where we came from. Let's give honor back to those people that have done their time with us to get us where we are today. So we're asking you, please, think of us. You took so much from Mason Square, but give back so small. You took our playground. We have nowhere to go for field days. What do? You promised us the field would be finished, that we would have phase 1, we would have phase 2. We have phase 1, but not phase 2. What happened? When we get to Winchester Square, DeBerry Elementary School, it's always no money. We all pay taxes. We are due the same as every other school in the city. We ask you, please, give us the best, and we will give back, and your staff will give back to your students in the community to educate them. They can't educate them, but they're not safe. They go late in the afternoon. That parking lot is right across the street. They do not have to walk unless you can get a shuttle bus to take them down to the other end of the place to get there safely. This is the thing we should look at. We say one thing, well, let's speak up. We were here to educate our kids. We can't educate them if we don't have staff in front of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Thank you, Ms. Woods. Next speaker is Rodna Latney, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Rhonda Latney. I own property at Scarsdale Road and a retired special education teacher with 25 years with the Springfield Public Schools. I'm here tonight regarding my longtime friend, the late Alberta Dolly Howard. To the best of my knowledge, Ms. Howard was one of your oldest school volunteers and oldest resident in the city of Springfield in 2022. At the age of 90 in 2002, Alberta Howard was presented with a rocking chair located at DeBerry School, known as Dolly's Reading Corner. And in 2014, Alberta Howard, at the age of 102, celebrated her birthday with staff and students. During the September 7, 2023 dedication of the new DeBerry and Ben Swan schools, her only living relative, Wayman Rainey, and myself were disappointed to discover there was no display of Alberta's dedication as a school volunteer. The walkthrough was canceled, which dashed our hopes of viewing Dolly's Reading Corner, and most disarmingly, to be informed, Alberta Howard's rocking chair was locked inside of the principal's office. I addressed a letter to the principal for Wayman Rainey myself to view Alberta Howard's Dolly's Reading Corner, and until this date, we have received no reply. We are requesting to review Dolly's Reading Center in her memory. Second, we are asking for support from the Springfield volunteers in the school department to set up a GoFundMe for a headstone for Alberta Dolly Howard unmarked grave. Alberta Howard's death was a result of elder abuse, fraud, and scams, which I filed and witnessed in 2020, docket number 2023 CR 02756, which also claimed the life of her son, Paris Pico Howard, in April 29, 2020, who was a 30-year retired public school employee. Alberta's body remained at Henderson's funeral home for 130 days until her secret burial in an unmarked grave in Oak Grove Cemetery. We are requesting a written reply on both of these issues within 10 days. Here are documents to support our request and regarding Alberta Dolly Howard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Latney. Roberto Christian, please. Mr. Christian? Good evening.
I'm Roberto Christian, the school adjustment counselor at Putnam, and I live in Amherst. I was reading the guidelines, and I guess you got to give your address, 1040 North Pleasant, apartment 319, Amherst. I'm here to give you the thanks for investing in our youth, increasing the services on mental health services. In my school, you added one, and that's excellent. Our caseload now is 1 to 800. The thing is that the school adjustment counselor and the guidance counselor, the roles are different. So we have, the school adjustment counselor has the IEPs and the 504s and in the incidentals, and that's what keeps us busy most of the time, the incidentals such as DCS, crisis, and all that. But again, I want to thank you for investing in our youth and helping our city. I also want to ask you to see if there's any way you can initiate again the home and school visits. It was a grant. I haven't been there. I only remember when we were in Brightwood about 13 years ago. We had that program, and it was very helpful to help the teachers understand our students and the families to understand our teachers. So I suggest that we can do that again. And again, thank you again for taking care of our children and our families. Thank you.
Mr. Christian, for your
Okay.
Thank you. And I believe via Zoom, Luz Lopez, please. Chris, is she on?
I'm here. Hi.
How are you?
Camera. Good, thank you. Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick, and members of the school committee, thank you for allowing me to speak today. Between 2011 and 2015, I came before you as a community organizer, organizing parents, teachers, and community members to advocate for education policies and investments. Today, I come before you as a community organizer and a mother of 2 Springfield Public School students. I have 4 points I'd like to mention today with hopes of following up with you on next steps. First, parent engagement. At the school committee meeting on November 6th, the director of parent engagement reported that the district had an advisory committee, parent advisory committee, where around 10 parents were involved, but only 2 seemed to be involved consistently. Crucial that the district make outreach efforts to reach all parents of the district and to present them with the opportunity to become involved with this advisory committee, and that we have a diverse committee group of parents for this committee. My second point is around, I'd like to request that the autonomy of each individual school is given in regards to creating their own policies and procedures be reviewed. According to the 2023 DESE accountability report, some of the Springfield Public Schools are doing well, while others are not and are requiring targeted interventions. This review of policy is important for all schools to be performing at an acceptable level. I'm interested and volunteering and asking for a list of policies.
I think, Ms. Lopez, I think we lost you verbally, audio. We lost her. Okay, let's give it a minute or so. Okay.
sorry.
That's okay. That's not your fault. That's not your fault. You're back.
Okay, so I'm not sure where I got cut off, but I was talking about the district policies and how individual schools have autonomy on some of the policies, and I'd like to review which policies and procedures are left at the school level to be determined and which are at the district level, because some schools in the district are doing very well while others are struggling and need targeted interventions according to the DESE report for 2023 accountability. My third point is around the district leadership and school committee members being part of community initiatives, specifically around the community health needs assessment, the community health improvement plan. There was a meeting on November 2nd at UMass Amherst, and it was a meeting about youth mental health. In the community health needs assessment of 2021 stated that 4 in 10 Springfield 8th graders reported feeling sad or hopeless for 2 weeks or more in a row, and that disrupted their usual activities. We need to see the presence of the district and the collaboration with the district and community organizations to address this crisis. My last point is around school committee member terms and elections. These should be held at every 2 years rather than every 4 years. 4 years is a huge part of a child's education, and we need to make sure that people are motivated and excited, and that the school committee, communities and elections for school committee. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to communicating with you further.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. That concludes the public speak out, and we'll take a recess before we go into our regularly scheduled meeting for 6:30. Thank you very, very much. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst? Absent. Attorney Murphy?
He will be zooming in. Good to hear you, Murph. He'll be zooming in.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Collins? Here. Ms. Gresham? Here. Ms. Monroe-Naylor? Mayor Sarno?
Present. Can we all please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas, happy Hanukkah, and hopefully a joyous and good and healthy new year. We'll now move to Section 2, the approval of minutes. Approve the minutes of the November 15, 2023 Special School Committee meeting and the November 16, 2023 regular school committee meeting. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion? Motion by Vice Chair Naylor. Is a second. Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst? Absent. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins? Yes. Ms. Gresham? Yes. Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient votes, matter passes. Thank you very much. Voting items. A is to approve the recommendation of Superintendent to appoint Dr. Marisa McCarthy as Administrator of Special Education, Chief of Special Education and Related Services. Superintendent Warwick, please.
Thank you, Mayor. As the school committee knows, and I'm not sure all the public knows, is there's a few jobs by law that require approval of the school committee, and one of those, since ed reform, is the Administrator of Special Education or Special Education Director. It requires that the superintendent actually do some screening, recommend a candidate, and the school committee has the authority to either approve or reject that recommendation. We're going to be recommending Marisa McCarthy tonight. I'm going to have Valerie Williams and Melissa Shea go through the process and the candidate screening and everything that went on with that. But we were very fortunate to have Marisa McCarthy emerge from the process. Marisa has an absolutely fabulous resume and has worked for us for several years as well and just done a fabulous job. So it's an honor to be able to present her to you tonight and make that recommendation. I'm going to turn it over to Valerie Williams now to talk about the process, our Chief of Diversity.
I just wanted to, my fault here. Student Rep Luis Gonzalez is here too. He's done a great job for us in virtual school. And of course, his fan club is there, mom and dad too, so we appreciate that. Superintendent Warwick?
Thank you. Val, are you on?
Ms. Williams? I still call her Principal Williams. Chris, is she trying to get on? Oh, she is on? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you again, folks of Springfield.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
About that internet. Good evening, Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Ward, Vice Chair Monroe Naylor, and school committee members. Can you hear me all set?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. In the field of education, there is not only a high demand for special education teachers, but for directors and chief of special education as well. And the demand is even greater in urban school districts. Given this knowledge, the position of chief of special education and related services was posted on national employment sites that welcome over 1 million job seekers daily. These sites included Indeed, Glassdoor, ZipRecruiter, and SchoolSpring. In addition to these sites, LinkedIn, Recruit and Hire, and Facebook were also used. From this search, 3 applicants applied with only 2 candidates meeting the qualifications. I'm going to pause there for just a second so that we can understand the gravity of the demands for the job and the enormity of this billing. Can you still hear me?
Yes, Ms. Williams.
Okay. Because what I just want to kind of give you a scenario so you understand the gravity and demands for this position. It's a little closer to home for me, so I can understand that we are, when I look at our own urban district, We have people, including myself, that have the credentials for the position, but didn't apply for this particular position. So not only do we have people that have those credentials, but the job itself is so demanding and unique. And when I look at the number of applicants that applied, and I think of our own district, and that sort of resonated with me, with people that are in our own district, that the demands of the job are great. And I'll get back on track now. But there were 2 phases for the interview process, a face-to-face interview and a learning walk with a task. The interview panel consisted of 8 people that held various positions throughout our Springfield Public Schools. This panel consisted of the following people: Principal Rhonda Jacobs from the Alternative Schools, Principal Roberto Ortiz from STEM Academy, Principal Michael Cavanese from Duggan Academy, Dr. Jacqueline High, Supervisor of Speech and Language, Hearing, and LLD Services, Patty Burns, Assistant Executive Officer of Special Education and Related Services, Kim Wells, Lead Chief Schools Officer, Michelle Boss, Interim Chief of Instruction, and myself. Phase 2 of the interview process, the candidates had a learning walk where they had to provide feedback based on standards 1 and 2 of the Department of Education Effective Teaching Practices rubric. And lastly, the candidates concluded with a writing prompt. Based upon the results from the interview process, Marissa McCarthy was recommended to the superintendent for the position of Chief of Special Education and Related Services. And now Melissa will review the resume with you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thanks, Val.
Attorney Shea?
Sure, thank you. So Dr. McCarthy has worked for the Springfield Public Schools, most recently as a supervisor of special education in an exemplary manner. She's done that since 2020. Prior to her appointment with the Springfield Public Schools, we were fortunate to attract Dr. McCarthy to work for us from the Chicopee Public Schools, where she worked as a coordinator of special education. But before that, she worked for the Boston Public Schools, which is relevant because it is the largest urban district in New England. And as you know, Springfield Public Schools, depending on the year, we're number 2, so or 3, depending on what year Worcester and Springfield are. So she worked for the Boston Public Schools for 4 years as the assistant director for transition and as the special education program director. She's also been the director of special education and student support services for the Attleboro Public Schools, a director of pupil services for the Granby Public Schools, and special education supervisor and special education team leader school adjustment counselor, again for the Chicopee Public Schools. Dr. McCarthy, as noted in her resume, has over 20 consecutive years of experience in various educational and leadership capacities, with a focus on special education and related services in public schools. You'll note also with regard to her experience, she's an adjunct professor at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, teaching inclusion, K through 12, and math, science, and social science assessment and instructions for students with disabilities. She's been a guest lecturer at Western New England University in regard to working with special needs students in the 21st century classrooms and response to intervention. In addition to her stellar background experience, she has excellent educational credentials as well. Dr. McCarthy holds a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Western New England University. She has a Master of Educational Psychology, School Adjustment and Counseling from American International College, a Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies, known as a CAGS, from American International College, and a Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership and Supervision from American International College. Dr. McCarthy, she also holds several professional DESE licenses. She has a professional license as a special education administrator, which is relevant for this particular position, as a supervisor director of pupil personnel services, and as a school adjustment counselor, school social worker. She also, she has other licenses as well, DESE licenses, DESE initial license, she has one as a superintendent, assistant superintendent, and as a principal, assistant principal in grades 9 through 12. So that's a summary of her work experience, her education experience, and her licenses.
Thank you, Melissa. After the initial team interview, I also interviewed the final two finalists with Melissa Shea, and I agreed with the team that she was clearly the best candidate for the position. Quite frankly, I thought we were very fortunate to have a candidate with Marissa's credentials and work history willing to work for us. We also did some reference checks, and she came out very well in that process too. So as a result of the process, I'm recommending Dr. Marissa McCarthy to be our special education director.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments? Discretion, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So Superintendent, when did the position come vacant?
So the position has been opened. We opened it and we posted it, and now we're going to recommending to fill it. So it's going to be filled on January 1.
So it's been open since when? I mean, vacant?
It's not vacant. We have someone in there right now, but she's going to take over on January 1.
January 1. And how many candidates total that applied for the position?
3.
3. And so I know you said there were minimum experience with one of them, right?
One didn't make the finals.
One didn't make the final.
Right.
So you only had one applicant, and the one.
We had 2 finalists.
Two
Right.
finalists.
Right.
All right.
Right.
All right, that's all I have for
Thank you,
now.
Ms. Gresham.
I may have another one.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Vice Chair Naylor, please.
When was this posted?
This has been posted several times. The last posting was this fall.
When? This fall?
Specific dates. Melissa, do you have the dates of the posting?
Yes, I believe Valerie can attest to it. It was done at the beginning of this school year.
Yes.
I think we posted actually twice, right, Val?
It was reposted.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
posted twice for a total of 6 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just asking for clarification because I had asked about this position several times. There were several individuals that reached out to me personally who said that they were interested in a position should it become available. And I expressed that over the summer when we discussed how long Dr. Morris would continue to operate in that role. So I was a little surprised that I wasn't made aware and that the school committee was not made aware that this position was available. I understand that you have posted it in Indeed and places like that, but a lot of times when it comes to this level of credentials and experience that's required, oftentimes these kind of positions are not just recruited through an online source. And so, no disrespect at all, and I want to say this very candidly, this is not personal against you at all. It's more about the process for me. Because we continue to talk about how we are a culture of equity and proficiency. And we talked about, even in the Dyer Committee, right before the summer started, that when we have positions that we ensure that we have a diverse pool of candidates before making decisions on who we're going to hire. And I'm not saying that we would not have still ended up in the same situation where we have made the decision to recommend Dr. McCarthy, but I do feel like we should have had a pool, and I'm assuming, because I don't know who the other candidate is, but I would like to hope that we had a candidate of color in that pool before we made a decision. And if we did not, what is the rush of moving into having someone start in the role unless we do the process according to what we've said that we are now doing and that we are now implementing?
Thank you, Vice Chair Naylor. Any other questions or comments? I just would like to indicate, as I still indicate Principal Val, Miss Williams, Principal Williams, I still call her Principal. She did a great job at Pottinger. She had indicated how difficult this position is, and she had indicated that we posted a number of times and the the qualifications that are needed for this position. And she even mentioned herself that this is something she's qualified for, but would not take it on, and that Ms. McCarthy, Dr. McCarthy, is eminently qualified for this position. We're very lucky that you've put in for the position, but it was out there, and on the postings they had and on the professional postings that they've done, individuals in this field, you would assume or think that they would be aware of this to apply for it. And 3 individuals applied, of which 2 moved forward. 1 didn't have the formal qualifications on it, but I just take to heart what Principal Williams or Ms. Williams indicated about the difficulty of this position. And we have a candidate here, upon the recommendation of Superintendent Warwick, that is eminently qualified on it. So I just want to point that out, that Ms. Williams made that statement, that she could have applied for this position, but said she would not take this on. She would not take this on, how demanding it is. Any other questions or comments, Mr. Gonzalez?
Thank you. I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you, Dr. McCarthy, for coming forward. We understand nationally and regionally that there's a shortage for professionals of your caliber coming into a role like this. Secondly, I'd also like to add, I want to thank and trust in the recommendation of our superintendent to put you forward for this role and for this position, understanding that our role here as a body of governance is ultimately to hold our superintendent accountable for the overall institution as a whole. And I believe in his judgment when he wants to bring someone onto his team. And therefore, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Attorney Murphy. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
No.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
No.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient vote. This matter passes. Congratulations, Dr. McCarthy, and thank you very much. We'll now move.
Congratulations and thank you.
We'll now move to informational discussion items. A is Frederick Harris School update. I did a little time there.
Oh, that's right, Mayor. Yes.
Well, first grade,
Yeah.
just for a little. White Street was my main thing.
When looking at the results this year, we had several schools that we wanted to bring forward that have had outstanding results this year, and most of the schools we're bringing forward have outstanding results for several years. So, you know, we try to not bring schools forward every year, the same schools. So Frederick Harris hasn't come forward in a few years. Frederick Harris was one of few schools in the city that had over 490 in ELA, math, and science on the scaled score on the MCAS test. They increased in all 3 subjects. Just absolutely incredible. Their criterion reference target percentage was 70%. And I remember telling you that the average in the state was 36%. So almost double. So just absolutely incredible. And Frederick Harris has put up those kind of results year in and year out. So there were folks we could have brought in before. But I want to turn it over to Kara Harris and her team at Harris School. We named the school after Kara as well because it's done so well. And have her come forward and talk about the strategies that help them have helped them consistently perform at a high level. Kara?
Sure. Thank you so much, Superintendent Warwick, for that introduction. Thank you, Mayor Sarno, Vice Chair Naylor, and the rest of the school committee for having us here tonight. We have prepared a presentation for you. If someone could just give me sharing rights for the screen, we can begin sharing that with you.
I like the visual with the school in the background. Yeah. Nice.
There we go. Okay. All right. So again, thank you so much for having us here. With me tonight presenting is our assistant principal, Melissa Stenwick, and our teacher of deportment, Brittany Shermer. So we'll each do a little bit for you tonight. So again, I'm Kara Harris. I am the principal of Harris School. And again, thank you for having us. Superintendent Warwick went over a little bit of this data, kind of some of the reasons we are here this evening. So again, we were able to increase in all 3 content areas on MCAS. Our average score was over 490 on all 3 content areas this past year. Our student attendance rate increased a nice chunk this year for us as well. We were able to decrease our chronic student attendance rate. We were able to decrease our office disciplinary referrals. And these last 2 are a little harder to formally measure, but we did feel we had pretty significant evidence that we were able to increase our student engagement and increase our student sense of belonging. So we're going to share with you a little bit of how we felt that we were able to accomplish those things last year. So we started with our district strategic plan that's aligned to the Portrait of a Graduate. We are a Portrait of a Graduate school. We are going to tell you a little bit about tonight the 2 areas with the red stars, so prioritizing well-being and reimagining schooling. So to start with prioritizing well-being, some of the things we did, we added additional staffing to our school for our social emotional learning and supports. We have a teacher of deportment. We added an additional counselor, and we were lucky enough to add an additional City Connects coordinator to our school last year as well. We improved our mindfulness program, which we're going to tell you a little bit about this tonight. We implemented professional practice goals for all of the teachers, and those practice goals were around student engagement and how do we keep our kids engaged in learning. We implemented crews for the first time last year, which ended up being our first attempt at the primary person model through the Portrait of a Graduate, and we're going to tell you a little bit about that tonight. And we added some mentoring support services to our program as well. And so for reimagining instruction, we are departmentalized in some grades at our school, so we have some concentrated areas. We offer science labs in all of grades 3 to 5. And this past year, we did a lot of work on coaching and providing some instructional cycles around our high quality instructional materials and just making sure that our teachers had the proper training and that we were using those high quality instructional materials effectively in the classroom for all of our students. And we're going to tell you a little bit about that tonight as well. So all schools have a vision and a mission, and we've aligned ours to the Portrait of a Graduate as well. So our vision at Harris is for our staff, our family members, and our students to be invested and engaged in the learning process and to feel safe, valued, and proud to be a part of our organization. And our mission is that we want to provide a rigorous curriculum with the 21st century knowledge and skills and make sure that it's engaging, it's personalized learning, and that we offer safety nets so that all of our students can succeed. So we knew from looking at our data every year that many of our students were succeeding, but not all. So we're not there yet. We want to know for the students who are not succeeding, why not? And we brainstormed as a staff, and we really felt that we just didn't have all of our students invested and engaged in their own learning. So we asked ourselves why. What are those obstacles that are preventing some of our students from being engaged and involved in their own learning? What were those challenges? We spent a good deal of time during professional development coming up with all the things that teachers saw during the classroom time to figure out why were some of our students not engaged. We took that big master list and we were able to categorize all of those things into 5 priority areas. And what we noticed was that attendance was one. If our students weren't in school, there was definitely going to be a lack of engagement when they did attend school because they may have missed the lesson before. They may not have relationships with their friends, and they're going to be less engaged in school if they're not here consistently. Just our instruction, making sure that our curriculum and our pacing and our resources are top notch and that we're implementing them effectively and engaging our students with the resources we put in front of them. Making sure we were meeting their social, emotional, and behavioral needs, making sure that we were being culturally responsive and making sure our instruction was culturally responsive and that our students felt a sense of belonging and ownership and pride to be a part of our school and they wanted to come to school every day and that they had relationships with other students and relationships with their staff members. And last was to make sure that we were addressing their diverse needs and abilities and making sure that we were meeting their individual needs. So we took those 5 obstacles or categories that we saw as a staff as to what was preventing some of our students from being engaged learners, and we've took those 5 categories and 4 of them became our teachers' professional practice goals. And so teachers had the option of choosing one of these 4 areas as a target area for them throughout the school year. And other teachers that chose the same area, they became a team throughout the year. And so it was various grade levels, all on one team. And throughout the year, we did our own research. We, talked to families, we talked to students, and we started implementing some new and different things to try for each of those 4 areas. And then during our extended days and our PD days, that group of teachers would share out with the rest of the staff as to what they were working on and what they were trying for that particular area to increase student engagement. And one of the things that came out of the sense of belonging and building relationships was what was called Cruise. When we started Cruise, we thought this was going to be, somewhat of a small thing, and it really turned into a really big thing in our school, and our students and families absolutely loved it. Our teacher of deportment is going to tell you a little bit about what Cruise looked like last year at Harris.
Crews are done school-wide at Harris, and we have had very positive feedback from students and families. These are some examples of the crew categories that we developed, and we wanted to tie them to careers that students could have in the job market. Then from here, we really came up with the crews that are in our school currently, and through teacher and student input. We had students apply to be on the crews, and they had to interview with their crew leader. Once they were accepted, there was a list of criteria that they needed to follow, such as behavioral expectations, classroom expectations. And this really developed into our first attempt at the primary person model. As Ms. Harris had previously stated, students were really able to form a connection with their crew leader and go to them if they needed help or advice on certain topics. And we've continued our crews this year, and we've improved on them based on student and staff feedback from last year. This is our bus safety crew, some of the members from last year, and they, with their team leader, created a bus safety video that they shared with our school about how to be safe and respectful on the bus. I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Stenwick.
So another way that we are addressing student sense of well-being is we added a daily mindfulness practice into our schedule last year. This is school-wide, and each day students participate in 5 to 7 minutes of some breathing exercises. On Fridays, they do some light yoga. Links are emailed out at the beginning of every week, and this occurs every day after lunch for about 5 to 7 minutes. It's kind of a time for students to reset after that time with their socializing and get ready with a positive mindset for the rest of their day. We have seen a dramatic decrease in our referrals since we've been implementing mindfulness, and we've noticed our students having much more positive mindsets, better coping strategies, and a lot more resilience. So we've talked to you a little bit about how we've prioritized well-being at the school, and now I'm going to share a little bit with you about what we've done to reimagine instruction. So as Mrs. Harris said, we are departmentalized in some grades. We do have science labs in grades 3 to 5. I'm going to share with you a little bit about that coaching and instructional cycle process that we engaged in that we think really helped improve our scores, particularly in ELA and math. And those coaching cycles were around the effective use of our high quality instructional materials. So as Kara shared before, we had these categories that came out of of the barriers to having students have a sense of belonging and engagement in school. And the category around curriculum and pacing and instruction, we made into our student learning goal at the school. So everybody was working on this together as part of their student learning goal throughout the year, looking at our blocks, looking at our resources, and how do we improve our practice with those resources. So I'll share a little bit about the practice that we think had a really big impact. This was the practice of instructional and coaching cycles around the high quality instructional materials that the district uses. One of those cycles we did was around the use of SIPs, which is our phonics intervention. We did an instructional coaching cycle around the use of iReady and around some writing. And the way the cycle worked was we would have PLCs with our educators and around a certain topic. So if it was SIPs, we would sit and meet with them and what are the barriers to them implementing SIPs effectively? What are questions they have? What training do they think they need? Where are some areas that they would like coaching? And then with that information and daily walkthroughs, we were able to craft PD delivered in PLCs that provided coaching and training to our teachers in the areas that they felt they needed. That was then followed by instructional targeted observations that with targeted feedback around areas that teachers specifically had asked for coaching in, and then us going in to observe and giving them feedback on how they were implementing the coaching and PD they'd received. We felt that this was hugely successful. Teachers felt that they were getting exactly what they needed, and we were delivering our curriculum much more effectively. And here, as I said, we are departmentalized in our upper grades, and in grades 3 through 5, we do have a science lab in each grade that students attend daily. They are engaged in hands-on learning experiences every day. We do have a garden, and that is part of our science program. And the engagement of our students is, I think science is their favorite subject. I mean, we believe that this model that we have, that we've put into this science lab in each of those grade levels with all of these hands-on experiences, has really contributed to our increase in our science scores.
So stay tuned, and we hope we get to come back again, because we have a lot of amazing things happening this year at Harris as well, including one that we definitely wanted to share with you tonight. Our music teacher, Mr. Jacob Donald, in partnership with Gary Bernice from SciTech, we have started an elementary school band where over 50 students at Harris School all have their own instrument and are playing musical instruments in a band 2 to 3 times a week. And our students and families are beyond excited about it. And our partnership with SciTech has been just nothing short of amazing. So look forward and stay tuned for that. And again, thank you guys so much for having us tonight.
Thank you, and hey, give a shout out to, please give a shout out to Mr. Alvin Skinner, who many years of dedicated service there with maintenance, and such a great guy. I remember when my kids were there, and I know we're going to be honoring him at an upcoming school committee meeting, but to Mr. Skinner, Alvin, thank you, and congratulations, Frederick Harris, on this great work, your whole team there, Principal Harris and the whole squad. I'll turn it over to school committee members for any comments or questions, and Superintendent Warwick, please.
I do have a comment.
Vice Chair Naylor.
First, I want to say thank you so much for everything that you're doing, Principal Harris, and your team. I really enjoyed your presentation. I especially love the stuff that you put on the page around your attendance, diverse needs, emotional behavior, sense of belonging, relationships, and your curriculum, pacing, instruction, and resources. I love the way you laid it out and really made it very clear as to what the focal points are around belonging and equity in your school. And I also love the fact that you are already seeing the progress and the positive reinforcement of the different elements of this that you put together. So I wanted to say that because I had to get that out, but I have a question for you. My question is, are you using a particular model, or did you just how did you come up with what your priorities were going to be and exactly what you needed to focus on?
Sure. So we didn't have a formal model. What we did was we brainstormed obstacles for student engagement together as a staff. We basically came together as a staff and we said, okay, what we are seeing is some of our students are not engaged. We asked ourselves, so we knew a lot of them were being successful, but then for the ones that weren't, we were asking ourselves why. And what we were hearing from teachers over and over, well, they're just not engaged. They're not paying attention. You know, they don't really necessarily invested in their learning. And so that seemed to be the topic that when we were asking why maybe students weren't succeeding, it kept coming back to that same topic. So we came together and we asked the people who are in front of the kids every day, what do you see? Let's list specific examples about what do you mean by they're not engaged? What does that look like? And teachers started writing things down like, you know, absent, or, you know, a social emotional need that keeps coming up in the classroom. We had a ton of things that came out of that PD. And so what we did was we took all of the things that the teacher said and we started just breaking them off and categorizing them. And when we did that, we really found that the majority of all of the things that teachers were seeing fit into those 5 categories.
Wonderful.
That I shared with you tonight.
Thank you. And so I just have a quick follow-up question. Do you have a baseline of your data and then what it's starting to look like now to kind of see where you're going and what trajectory you're on?
Yes, so what we used last year, because this was a new process for us of how do you measure student engagement, right? So what we did last year was we decided as a staff to measure the student engagement by our attendance rate. We know that that's clearly not perfect, but we wanted to make sure that if we were meeting their needs, helping families with attendance, helping students with attendance, working more on their social emotional needs, how do we meet their diverse needs, you know, more explicitly, et cetera. If we were doing those things, would we be more successful with having kids come to school on a more consistent basis? So we did at this point measure it through attendance, which we did have a significant increase in our attendance this school year from last year, you know, from our work last year. So we were able to measure it by student attendance. We also added some information in there because we also looked at our office disciplinary referrals, that if we were meeting our students' needs more appropriately in the classroom, was that going to reduce students needing to be sent out of class for whatever the reason may be? And we definitely did. So we monitored it through our attendance rate and our discipline referrals and suspension rates, but we have a very low suspension rate at the elementary school level. So it was definitely more observable in our discipline referrals.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's interesting because when Mr. Gonzalez and myself went to California and they talked about the primary person model and the benefits of it and everything like that, and how it has to be unique to your particular building and your particular environment in your school. And so it's really nice to see each school that's involved in a Portrait of a Graduate work really focusing in on how do you make it particular and unique to your own environment. And so I love what you've done, and I think it's amazing, and I look forward to hearing more about the success of your students and your families. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I will just add that Cruise started before we even had really any training on primary person model yet, and because we had already launched it, and when we were getting training on primary person model, we said, oh, this is really fitting into what we're learning about primary person model. So it morphed into our primary person model. And then even as we learned more about the primary person model, that it really should be an everyday thing for our students. We are continuing with Cruise and improving and tweaking that, you know, to make that something that we can continue at the elementary school level. But we are also adding another layer of primary person model at Harris School this year that is something that can be an every single day point of contact with a primary person, whereas our Cruise, although we absolutely had that, where students were able to build this relationship with a crew leader, we're going to continue that. But our primary person model that we're improving on this year will give the students that on an everyday basis, you know, with something that we're working on this year for primary person model. So we are learning as we go as well.
That's wonderful.
Thank you, Principal Harris. Thank you, Vice Chair Nail. Any other questions or comments? Hearing, Mr. Collins?
And I've said this in a number of years, a decade or longer that I've been on here. Show me a good principal and I'll show you a good school. But what's evident is a good principal, what a good principal is has evolved. The collaborative leadership style is so attuned, and obviously to this presentation and what's going on in the school. But another one of my core beliefs really shown through in your presentation is elementary teachers, and elementary principals are teachers, they teach children, unlike on the secondary where they instruct on material. They teach children. You could see this is focused on nurturing and the needs of children as people, as individuals, and that's what is the hallmark. And we've got that throughout all of our elementaries. I know Harris is exemplary, but we do have it. And our elementary teachers are just so focused on kids. We're so lucky to have all of them. and we're especially lucky to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments?
I just want to conclude with
Superintendent
Kara
Warren?
and your team. I just want to congratulate you for the great job you do, not only last year and this year, but year in and year out. You've proven consistently providing outstanding results for the kids. And I would suggest the outstanding academic outcomes are also a result of improving engagement. So just tremendous job to you and your team. And from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank you and wish you and your families a happy holiday season.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Principal Harris, for nurturing the whole child. We appreciate that, the whole Frederick Harris team. And again, a shout out to Mr. Alvin Skinner, too. We'll move to reports of standing committees. Student relation, parent concerns, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. B, Buildings and Maintenance Committee, Mr. Collins.
No report, but I see the superintendent's going to be reporting on some stuff about that.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. C, Legislative Contracts Committee, Mr. Gonzalez.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Curriculum Programs Committee, Ms. Hurst, absent. Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Collins.
No report at this point, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. F, Vocational Education Committee, Attorney Murphy. I know he's on Zoom. Attorney Murphy, unless we lost him. Yeah, he had to go off. Okay. All right.
I'm
thank
sorry,
you.
Mayor, I had it on mute. It's no report.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Murphy. G is Technology Committee, Vice Chair Naylor.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Chair Naylor. H is School Safety Committee, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. I is Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Ms. Hurst, absent. We'll now move to a report of our student representative, Luis Gonzalez, and his fan club mom and dad are here, and Principal Allison Lynch is also here, too. We appreciate that. Luis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
He's a good kid.
The next District Advisory Council meeting will be held next week on December 6th. During this meeting, we are planning on finalizing the details surrounding our trip to Homegrown and meeting with Mass Development at the Springfield Virtual School. We have expanded our student council to include students from all grades, and we are working to plan a school spirit week for the week before the holiday break. And the high school is working to plan our first ever prom. We spent the past couple of weeks planning a college fair, and yesterday high school students attended a Zoom meeting where they had an opportunity to hear from Holyoke Community College, Springfield College, and Southern New Hampshire University about their campuses, programs, and admission processes. Another exciting first was the recent school center decision-making elections, where members of the senior student council heard from other students about why they would want to be involved in SCDM and held a vote to elect those students to the CDM team. Also, several high school students have shown interest in playing winter sports this year after our student council voiced that they wanted to get more involved in the school activities. All of these exciting developments have been made possible by students who want to use their voices to make changes and build a virtual school community.
Nice job, Louis. Very
Thank you.
thorough.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments on Mr. Gonzalez's report?
He comes prepared.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Thank you very much, Louis. We appreciate that. Report of the superintendent. Superintendent Warwick?
Thank you, Mayor. Put some pictures in your packet of some of the projects. We're now working at the building level with some of the ESSER projects. As you know, we gave $80 million to the schools to come up with ESSER projects that fit their buildings' needs, and some just examples of the many wonderful projects that are going on. SciTech is doing an amphitheater in the parking lot behind the school, where they can highlight the pride of Springfield, their wonderful band. And you see a picture of that in there, and the planning is underway now on that. And I think that's going to be a wonderful project where they can really have some outside concerts and do a lot of activities that'll really be neat. The second picture you have is the Central High School. You can see the baseball field. And also, if you look to the right, you can see the practice field. It's not quite as far along, but Pat Roach and I went over Sunday, actually, and took a look at the fields. We were so excited. We grabbed a few shots so you could see them, but they're just coming along really well. And again, these were projects that were planned by the teams at the school. The third one is a picture of Putnam. They've also decided in front of the school where we talked about put a facility in. They're going to build a nice practice field, which will really be helpful for all of our teams. So that'll occur right in the front of Putnam, and that's in the planning stages. Again, those are all just examples, but every school received the ESSER money based on a per pupil student count, and they're coming up with projects and executing projects for those schools. So this is just a few examples. Another one that's coming along very well, this is an ESSER project. This is one the mayor chose to fund for us, and I went by and saw it Sunday too, is the project at Duggan, our Plum Field project. And you can see how that's coming along. The goalposts are up and everything now, so that's coming along very well. And you can see a few pictures of those projects. So we're moving along on our fronts. Those fields will be ready for the spring, so that'll be really exciting. We're going to put the stadium up next, so that's coming along really well. And again, I think for Mr. Early and for our youth sports teams, we were really tight on field, so it was so important when we built Putnam. We took that Ted Plum Field. We wanted to get a Ted Plum Field back online, but we really needed some more sport fields for all the teams we're running, and we've increased the number of sports and the number of teams, and there's a lot of youth activities. So even Sunday when we drove by, they had the little ones out playing flag football in the field, so they're getting constant use. So it's not only great for the school system, but it's great for our entire community. So those projects are going along very well. I just wanted to thank the mayor for stepping up on the Duggan Field, because when we built Putnam, we promised the public we'd find a way to replace Plum Field. And I just got so excited when I saw it, I wanted to share it with everybody. Thank you, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Warwick. Any questions or comments on the superintendent's report? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to unfinished business. Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor to adjourn? Motion by Vice Chair Naylor, is there a second? Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst, absent. Attorney Murphy?
He might be on mute.
Sorry about that. Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient vote. The matter passes. Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Holidays, joyous New Year. Thank you. Good evening for watching. Thank you for watching.